Welcome back, Andre's part two of our discussion on Andre's new title, Through the Soul Mirrors to the Sphere of the Sun. Now, we were discussing about how this work goes beyond step 8. So could you, of initiation into Hermetics, the equivalent of, I wondered if you could discuss a little bit about how, if somebody wanted to further develop their soul mirror or themselves, how would you do that? Say, for example, if they were step 8 or beyond, what sort of tools do you give them to further develop themselves?
To develop themselves beyond step 8. That's it. Firstly, the book follows a structure. I mean, my inspiration is the structure, the beginning structure of the book is inspired by the structure of initiation into Hermetics. So it doesn't only cover up to step 8, it covers all the way to step 10, but then it covers beyond. And that's a manner of speaking. Because if you look at it, right, the initiation into Hermetics already contains all, it can be said it contains all other books, even the key to true Kabbalah, the keys with which you work that book are given in initiation into Hermetics. So the thing is, in each step, I'm seeing and transmitting the things I have learned. What I can do with these steps, and I am teaching them directly. So the steps are larger than in initiation into Hermetics. So for instance, when I am giving, the book ends with the Herculean labors, the 12 Herculean labors from Hercules. And how to do that according to the soul mirror and to the practice of magic and mysticism combined. This is what actually crystallizes the human, the solar human, the human that is here but is anchored in the sun sphere. And this, it can be said that it is, it comes also from initiation into Hermetics in a way, because Bardon teaches you to travel, even in initiation into Hermetics, to travel all the way to the sun sphere. So this is an example of how it expands. It can expand infinitely even. So all the things that you can find in initiation into Hermetics beyond step 8 will be found here and more. For instance, I focus a lot on the aspect of the Godhead. It is beyond this, I think the two main ingredients of initiation into Hermetics are the soul mirror and the ennoblement of the soul, if you want to look at it in this very simple way. With the ennoblement of the soul, what you will get to is the Godhead. So the assumption of the personal God, of the God in the God that you can become, or become one with, more like that. This step is described briefly in initiation into Hermetics. So what can happen once we become one with God? What can we do? What can God do through us? So the book, Through the Soul Mirror to the Sphere of the Sun, it expands on these ways to operate inside the Godhead. And it gives you many options, and it teaches you how to work them through. This is an example, but there are several examples. the end of the book is almost solely, it's dedicated to the sphere of the sun and to the Godhead.
I'd love to, just moving onto that, you talk about at the beginning of the book was very much inspired by the 11th Earth Sign spirits, Aries, Ijigi. I wonder if you could talk to us a little bit about this inspiration.
Actually, it's funny because when I first contacted Falcon Books Publishing, I was curious what the needs were in the Bardonian scene, so to speak, and I wanted to get some idea of what the needs were. So where can I contribute? And I talked to you, of course. So you were one of the inspirations. But then I searched further, and I just opened myself to divine providence, and I was in direct contact with beings from the sun sphere. So they transmitted the book as, let's say, as a sphere. The whole book is condensed in this thing. Okay, so I had the essence of the book in me now. But when I was thinking of how to articulate it, I repeated the process, and I was in contact with Ijigi. So the book is, every step of To the Soul Mirror is divided in 3 steps, just like the initiation into Hermetics. One thing important is the physical training goes all the way to the end of the book, while in initiation into Hermetics, several times there isn't any physical training. And here I use a lot Qigong and Tai Chi and martial arts, not in a professional way, but in a way where you can work your spirituality together with the body and the stamina and vigor of and vitality of your body. So what Igigi did was give me the key that translates into these 3 steps in every, these 3 divisions in every step, which is the taming of the taming of the unicorn, the taming of the Pegasus, and the taming of the horse. And he explained how these animals exist inside of us and how they can be tamed, which is the same way we can tame them on the mental plane, I mean, as exterior things. This was the missing key to simply start writing and write all the way to the end. The unicorn represents mental purity, light, and in a way one-pointed concentration. The horn, and the Pegasus represents freedom, the freedom, the soul, the liberated soul, and the horse is the body. So it's the horse is as stamina and strength, and he is loyal, but he is also wild. So he must be tamed in accordance with sensible laws. And that's how the body works. The body is sensible. You need to make it work, but you also need to be compassionate with it so it can be loyal to you. It must know your spirit, like a horse must know its owner. So Igigi transmitted a specific message. It is, I think I transcribed it wholly in the book. But it's the main part of it. The words of Igigi are in the book. And then I had the seed from the beings of the sun, and he kind of watered the ground. So the book was born, like a tree with its many branches and fruits.
Wonderful, wonderful. Moving on, I'd like to also discuss with you a little bit about your other titles you have as well. So, I wonder if you could tell us a bit about. So we have another 3 books coming out as well this year. So we have a guide to the elementals, the Kabbalah to the spheres, and also Stella Magic. I wondered if you could tell us a little about these titles as well.
A Guide to the Elementals. It does have a main focus on elementals, but it is a book about the practice of evocation and also mental wandering, and how it fits into Hermeticism. It is an Hermetic book in the sense of the tradition of Hermes. Regarding evocation and evil mental wandering, we go all the way from the cradle of civilization, like Sumeria, Egypt, the Persians, then later, much later, the Renaissance, and we explore the central bone of the science, that is the one of meeting with beings, with non-corporeal beings, so to speak, and how to give them a body even. So it is astonishing how the science is this. It's practically the same since Sumeria to this day, with variations that are stylistic mostly. Yet, when you reunite all these philosophies, you get a greater wisdom about the subject. This is the theoretical part of the book. Then, in the practical part, I kind of studied a bit like Paracelsus did. Paracelsus was kind of an anthropologist of elementals and other beings. And I did that kind of work, and I also did like what would be similar to biology on the elementals. So finding out their structures, their organs of action and perception. I outlined all of that and the way they can or can't work in society among themselves. And then I interviewed directly every elemental that is in the practice of magical evocation. I did direct interviews and I transcribed the whole thing, including not only the verbal messages we exchanged, but the impressions I had of the beings in all senses, like in the sight, in what I felt with my touch, and also what they felt about me and how they reacted to me. Because this, more than the messages, this can transpire their essence. And I also explained how it works, the translation between our language and their language, and what are the components that enable this translation, and how it takes place, and what it can mean, etc. So I interviewed all of them, including about the descriptions Bardon gives of them, and I asked them directly. Some surprising answers, of course, and also some magical keys they give. So this is you are taught how to evoke these things and additional keys that are not in practice of magical evocation, including working with the Godhead, and from the Godhead to the archangels and the elemental emperors, and from there to the kings, the elemental kings and queens that Bardon described. Um, so they give, during the interviews, you give various practical hints and keys for the magician and the reader to practice. And at the end, I also give the seals and descriptions of every being that William Kincher, I don't know how the name is spelled, but I give the seals and descriptions of what he calls the females of the elementals. It's not that they are what he calls females isn't exactly. It's not exactly that they are females. Some are males. It's something else. He means they are more passive, more magnetic. So this is given for the first time because Kincher doesn't give the description nor the seals to any of these beings. The males are exactly the males in his book are exactly the elementals that Bardon describes, but the females are not in Bardon's book. So this is how the Guide to the Elementals ends with this new exclusive material. As following on to the Kabbalah of the spheres. Now this is a very curious book, and it came about when I was trying to teach. I am a teacher. I teach kids, and I was trying to teach them how to memorize things according to different tones, sounds, tones, and suddenly I was writing the sheets, and a key struck me regarding the Kabbalah, and it has to do with the tones that Bardon gives us in the key to true Kabbalah, being directly connected with the 10 spheres. So this was the first thing, and from there, once I realized that, it's like my mind started to upgrade directly from the Akasha until I had almost the whole structure of what would be this book and the urge to transmit it. So this is a book that, from mathematics and music and the Kabbalah and the cosmic letters and the spheres, it forms a whole device that you can work to perfect almost everything. From creating magical vaults to assessing the elementals of the spheres themselves, and realizing what are the predominant elements of each sphere, to opening gateways in the mental sphere and the astral sphere, and spiritual devices that allow you to do some things very objective and some very abstract. This part is connected to geometry, and I work this directly with my own holy guardian angel, my spirit guide. Directly in the spheres, I went to learn with him and receive visions, and then he helped me to translate all these visions into operational modes of working magic and mysticism. So it has actually a musical part that you can do with a musical instrument, and it works very in a similar way to the key to true Kabbalah. And you can work with the letters or with the tones only to assess the spheres and combine the spheres. And you have postures, physical postures connected with the channels in your body, various channels, and these postures also have a Kabbalistic meaning and written. It's all connected. It's a huge world actually. I find it a bit hard to explain, but it will be. I will be able to write a good introduction to it for the audience. The stellar magic is even beyond that, but it doesn't start like that. It's accessible in a way at first because it studies astrology again from the cradle of civilization, um, from all cultures in the world that we know of. From the beginning of these regions, of these territories, to where we are now, to modern astrology. And it kind of builds a body of work where all these things can be used together. I mean, not exactly together, but you can use all options available with a central system that is given. And so it culminates in a way, yeah. It culminates with the synthetic astrology that you can find in the practice of magical evocation. And it goes to explain the whole book. The practice of magical evocation is an astrological book, and this isn't often seen. The whole thing is astrological, and even the mistakes they say Bardon made in this book, I don't think they are mistakes because they are the only right astrological key. And he has the right astrological key. And I found, including that he used some astrology from the planets themselves. I don't know what kind of devices were available at his time, and if it was a lot different from now, astronomically. But he has the right numbers for many astrological phenomena that you can only observe from inside the planets. And then many things like the beings from Mars and the beings from Saturn, and even the beings from Neptune. So they are all described now, and the names are given and the keys. So this is like a major breakthrough, I think, in the tradition. And one of the thing I found most impressive in this, there are two things that are very impressive in this part of the book, because I was taught directly by a being. All these things I didn't know, so he told me to write all I knew about astrology and astrology in this world, and then he taught me the rest. And he started teaching me when I got to the practice of magical evocation, and from there onwards. But the key to the judges of Saturn has some very surprising aspects, and I won't go into that right here. But yeah, it's really surprising, and how it all can be transmuted, and it shows a whole new world and perspective on mysticism and magic. So the first thing you see with the judges is like, it's scary. But the judges are also the lords of understanding. They become the lords of understanding if you can show the right key. And then what I call the root of Uranus. And this root of Uranus will take us elsewhere from our solar system to what Bardon describes as the white spheres beyond the solar system, and that you can only, they are new colors, so you see them as white from the outside, but inside you learn new colors. it brings us there, and also the astrological aspects of my books in Serious Limited Esoterica are explored, and then this being that has been teaching me uh, is also in the Bardon tradition. He is ahead of the Earth Zone. Then, so in the final stage, I work with him directly in the Akasha, and he has also some surprising revelations about the nature of the of all the heads of all the spheres, the Akashic nature of them, and he starts directing me to other beings from other spheres. So the keys I am given here are also kind of they are very hard to imagine. So if you read the book, you will be able to learn these things. But I think I wouldn't have learned them without the help of the beings. They are kind of unfathomable. So this was a book that I felt gave me this thrill of this thrill about magic and mysticism that I only felt in the beginning, because this was really news. Wow, it was like, wow. It was very exciting writing this book.
Wonderful. It sounds absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for describing these books for us. And also, thank you so much for the interview. Is there anything else you'd like to add at the end of this before we go?
Yeah, if you are a practitioner, I find that many people are overstressed about practicing. They take it so seriously they simply paralyze themselves. Of course, it must be taken really seriously, but when you are practicing, you must find joy in it. You must be playing as well, not like I don't say playing like not taking it seriously. But I remember my old initiator. Maybe I was in step 4 or something, initiation into hermetics, and he gave me this lesson. Because when you are training, you must imagine that you are training first. So you are playing of training. So you are imagining that you are training. You are having fun in your imagination, but you are really training. You are training here, right here, and right now. People are afraid of their imaginations. Not only in the Bardon tradition, in many others. They feel that imagination might be deceiving them. So they get a manifestation, they get a revealed knowledge, and they say, oh, I'm being deceived by my imagination. I don't understand that kind of thought, as Bardon constantly speaks about imagination. One must convince himself with all authority that something is happening. So before we materialize something, we must imagine that we are materializing something, or we won't be doing anything. We will just be fooling ourselves. That's when we are fooling ourselves. Because if our imagination is out of it, it's not inner work. So have fun with the practice, have fun. And there is no way to fail. Consciousness moves according to evolution. So what is granted is success, not failure. Just practice, have fun, do it when you can, which is good for you.
It's great advice, wonderful advice. Yes, indeed. I think many people can relate to that, what you're talking about. Okay, that's really...
Just something to add to what I said. The way you can be sure that you are not deceiving yourself is not by not imagining things. You must imagine them. You are training your imagination. But it is by becoming wise and wiser every time. and knowing the laws and applying the laws, and which laws are higher, which are lower. Ignorance is the enemy, not imagination. Imagination has nothing to do with ignorance. That's it.
Interesting. Yes, thank you. Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time for this interview today. It's really wonderful. Also, I think before we go, I'd like to mention about Andre also has a course there. He's a number of courses actually you're teaching. One is actually a course that takes somebody through the soul mirror to the sphere of the sun. They actually take them step by step through that, along with and in tandem with the initiation to hermetics as well. So it's a great way for someone to develop themselves. Also, you have other courses as well, don't you? So I wonder if you could just mention a little bit about the courses that you're teaching at the moment through Perseus site as well.
Right now, at this moment, I only have, I have another course ready to be simply uploaded, but it's not online yet. The course I have at Perseus is this one right now, and it is, although it is a kind of companion to initiation into hermetics and to the soul mirror, to the sphere of the sun, it is again different because it is very intimate. So what I do is I have the topics. I go to this book. So I see one step and I start writing words that can divide the theme, the topic of this step. And I write the words in a paper, put the paper in front of me, I tap the recorder, and I go each lesson is one word. I only have this word. I didn't think about it before. I enter trance, tap into the Akasha, and I transmit things to the students directly. So it is a very intimate thing, and it is an energy you can absorb, and also, of course, a lot of advice, practical advice. And people can talk to me directly, and they do. Not only about the lessons, but about other problems they might be having in their development to magic and mysticism. But also they share their successes, and it's like I say, the lessons are instructions, are transmissions. But when we have a conversation, that's when the teaching begins, because we are sharing, and I learn and the student learns, and we are evolving together.
Wonderful, that's great. It sounds absolutely amazing, and I'm sure it sounds very, very exciting as well. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for staying. And we'll wrap it up there. And so for anyone who wishes to contact on the Perseus site, go on there have a look at Andre's courses. He's also at a long interview about this as well, discussing Soul Mirror book. And also you can go to the website on falconbookspublishing.com to find his books on there. And also he has author page as well to find out more. Not to mention also his Facebook page as well. So you can contact him on there. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your time. And it's lovely to spend time talking with you. And we'll catch up again soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tammy.